All right, we are live for IRL Tier 3 Round 2 in Bahrain. We're just waiting to get all of the drivers into the lobby here. I'm going to be your host, Psychotical. I'm streaming for the first time on YouTube, so if there are any kinks or anything like that, do let me know. I'm using IRL's YouTube channel. They were kind enough to provide the login details to me, so we'll be streaming from here. If there are any issues, like I just said, let me know in the comments, or if you're in the IRL staff, you can message me in the commentary lounge channel and I'll try and troubleshoot it. Figured I'd go live a little bit earlier than when I normally would. You know, I'd go live when we're going into qualifying, but in this case, I think it's okay for me to kind of work out the kinks a little bit here, make sure everything's working all nice and well. Actually going to go ahead and pull up the stream myself so I can see if things are actually working the way that they should. Let's have a look. Yeah, it looks like we're good. So we should be all good to go. I will, in a moment, jump into the current standings so we can look at where everybody is after round 1 at Silverstone. What's up, Shiesty? Welcome. I'm excited. I've got some familiar faces that I recognize here in Tier 3, so I'm going to be excited to see if they can put up a show for us tonight. So we've got a couple minutes until we should be getting started. I think we're just waiting on a couple people. I am seeing people start to ready up, though, so we may actually be getting into qualifying. Before we do so, I guess it'll be good to hop in. No, I'm good. I don't want to sign into a new profile in Chrome. We'll hop into the previous race result, and I'll pull them up on screen now. So, in Great Britain, your race winner was Capex in the Mercedes, started from 3rd on the grid. 2nd and 3rd, locking out the 2-3 on the podium is Ferrari, starting from 7th and 6th on the grid, so very good races from them. The Audi in the McLaren are very ironic, starting from 5th, making it up to 4th, and Helix, Edge, Little Miggy, NASCAR Freak, Zoe No D, Rubik's Uter, rounding out your top 10. We hop over then. Oh, and the fastest lap. Let's not forget the fastest lap being taken by NASCAR Freak and your driver of the day being 7. Hop over to the driver's standings. You'll have to bear with me as we've got a large list here, as you can see, of driver standings. So let's try and zoom in a little bit here. The quality is going to be quite poor, but Capex will be your current championship leader. This isn't... Someone's saying this isn't Tier 3 in the chat. I'm pretty sure this is, but maybe I'm in the wrong lobby? Oh, I'm on the wrong season. Well, that's not good. Maybe I clicked on the wrong thing in Driver Hub. All right, well, we're off to a fantastic start. Psychotic will not be coming back for the next race. Let me pull up the Driver Hub real quick. Oh, I just see I was at the wrong. Yep, I was on the wrong thing here. Let's get these things pulled up properly this time. Oh, much better. Here we go. Here we go. All right, fantastic, fantastic. We're gonna be in much better shape here. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys. I'm not gonna troll this time. Okay, for some reason the image quality is very poor. I'm wondering if it's because I'm super zoomed in. All right, here we go. You guys have to let me know if this is what you guys, the first race. For some reason, it's very, very small, so we'll zoom in. You're going to have to, unfortunately, deal with the fact that the image is just super pixelated. I'm not exactly sure why, but this is the correct one. Check real quick. I believe this is the correct one after Australia, and this was also on June 26th. So yeah, this should be the correct one. All right, so starting from the top, We got Edge, the Canadian in the Red Bull, finishing in first place by 10. Oh my god, finishing in first by 10 seconds. So quite a big margin there. His race pace seemingly quite dominant. In second place, we've got the American of Henry in the Mercedes. Rounding out the podium, we have Fate F4 in the V Carb. Then going down the list, we've got Dr. B in fourth. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Maybe Skada. Someone will have to correct me on that. In fifth, EV in sixth. This is Pitter Patter 95 in seventh, Pixel 9 in eighth, Mason and Brian DeBruce rounding up your top 10. I'm hearing that there was a crash in the previous race, so that might be why there's such a big gap. Hopefully things will be a little bit more tight towards the end. Top four were front wing to diffuser the entire race until crash. Well, sounds like we're gonna have a very fantastic race coming up. Let's hop in then to our driver standings here. So after the first round, we've got Edge obviously leading. Everything should pretty much just be exactly as they were in the standings for the first race. But as of right now, it is Edge's championship to lose. Let's see if he can keep that good run of form from last week up. Let's see if we have gotten underway yet here. No, we have not. So pop into the constructor standings. That's maybe a little bit more interesting. No, not too changed from the driver standings. It seems like the teammates maybe not playing as big of a factor into this first race as I first had thought. But looking at our constructors championship, obviously Red Bull on top, McLaren in second place, Mercedes rounding out the top three, V-Carb in fourth, Cadillac in fifth, Haas in sixth with 6 points, Audi in seventh, Ferrari in eighth, and our last three teams, Aston Martin, Williams, and Alpine with 0 points. I'm sure they will be looking to improve their championship position after this race. So we'll see if they can have a better race than they did last week, as I timed this perfectly. And we're getting right into qualifying here. So let's see what the drivers can do here. It's going to be, from what I'm hearing, a very, very tight grid. So we'll see what people can do here in qualifying. It is not as important of a qualifying session as, you would be at Monaco, for example. But of course, with the chaos of lap one, the further ahead you can get yourself out of the midfield and out of the high amounts of squabbling that no doubt will take place. If I was a driver, which I am, but if I was driving here, I would definitely want to be as far to the front as possible so I can crucially try and check out as soon as possible and drop everybody behind by 1 second, because crucially, I'm going to try and not say crucially 500 times this race, but very importantly, that 1 second gap will be a big deal, as if you are not within that 1 second gap, you crucially, there it is. We're going to have to put a counter on screen. Very importantly, you lose overtake, which allows you to deploy and harvest a significantly higher amount of battery than the car in front. And so if your pace is ever so slightly off as compared to the car in front, you can actually sort of get towed along, similar to how DRS was in the previous regulations. You can get towed along by a driver in front because they'll have less battery. Obviously, the driver's skill still does play a factor. It's not quite entirely a battery management simulator as some people might think. Certainly, if you are bad at managing the battery, you will be struggling quite a bit. But if two drivers are similar on pace, the battery management, similar on battery management, then the pace doesn't exactly, or for Christ's sake, if they're similar on battery deployment, see, even I'm getting a little bit confused. If they're similar on battery deployment strategy and they actually have it kind of figured out, the pace of the driver still does play into account. Obviously, there's lift and coast and things of that nature, and drivers might be lifting and coasting in different areas. And so that does play a factor. But as we're kind of getting into the session here, we are seeing a McLaren over there in the bottom right, getting ready to go out onto track. So whenever these guys start to filter out of the pit lane here. We'll ride on board with the Haas. Let's pull up the track map and lap data here so I can have everything that I need to sort of walk you through a lap here around Bahrain. Let me get the track map pulled up as well as the tire data. So that way we can also have a look at maybe where people are gaining and losing time. We got the track map pulled up, and then get my team telemetry pulled up. You guys can see right here. I'll have it off to the side. And vehicle status. Here we go. All right. Probably better to just tuck that over there. And tuck this over here. See that. All right, here we go. Right on board with Feed Me Scotch and the Haas going out for the first lap of round 2 at Bahrain. You deploy quite a bit of battery here. Let's get his telemetry pulled up as well. Going down into turn 1 here, deploying down to 60%. A little bit of a lift and coast going into the first corner. The traction zone here is very, very tricky. You have to make sure that you do not spin the car coming out of this corner. I would imagine that some of the drivers here will be running traction control, though, so that may not be necessarily an issue. You do lose lap time, though. Going down into turn 4 here, another little bit of a lift and coast. The track kind of falls away from you on the exit here, so you have to be careful on the traction once again. Deploying a little bit of battery here going into this right-hander. You have to be careful not to deploy too much, as you don't really gain that big of a benefit, considering that on these new cars, that corner is not exactly flat out. Heading now into the tricky complex of turn 9 and turn 10. Have to be careful not to drag a brake here. It's very easy to lock up and go wide. He hooks it up quite nicely, other than the fact that he hopped over the curb and took out that bollard there. The bollard becoming a bit of a victim at the moment as a Ferrari behind, going a little bit slow, likely letting cars through. Going into the final part of the lap here, you want to make sure that you have quite a bit of battery, a bit more than Feed Me Scotch here in the Haas has at the moment. Unfortunately, he is going to likely be suffering a little bit going down this straight, as he is going to be a bit low on battery. You can see on the bottom of the screen the circular dial with the red lines going around it. That is your harvest limit. You want to try and fill that up as much as possible. Let's see what our benchmark time is here. He's deploying all the way to the line, dropping down to 0% before reaching the line, so not ideal. A 129.654. I imagine that that will come down as we go along. Pixel Knight setting a 129.815. Fastest lap taken away by the Alpine of Golden Sniper 950, putting together a slightly better lap, about a 10th and a half of improvement there. See what everybody else does as these first laps start to filter in. We've got Flyer DJ coming across the line. We've got the Cadillac of Scarada as Kobek in the Red Bull goes fastest. Let's see. Our championship leader is actually still sitting in the pit lane, so maybe not thinking that he needs to go out at the moment. Maybe thinking to save some of these soft tires for later on in the race here, or maybe in the race, maybe thinking about doing a 2-stop. We got Scarada here in the Cadillac going across the line. Let's see what kind of time he can do. A 129.839. That's good enough for 5th place at the moment. Let's see if anybody else is on a lap here. We've got Henry coming to the line in the Mercedes. He sets a 129.831. We've got I believe a V-carb coming around the final corner here of Fate F4. Let's see what type of time he can set. And he goes fastest with a 129.320. So very, very competitive here. Our top 7 only separated by about 0.5. So there is definitely some competition here. It's not going to be maybe a slam dunk for these drivers to just snatch away pole position here. So we'll see what they can do on the second runs here. It seems like Brian DeBruce is on a lap, so let's hop on board with him here. He's coming out of the final corner as well, and then we'll hop on with I'm Doctor, who seems to be the only other car about to set a lap. Brian DeBruce setting a 130.025, so basically a 130 flat. Good enough for P9. Definitely going to need to see some improvement from him if he wants to move up in the order a little bit here. I believe, just based off of the times here, I think our cutoff for P1 is likely going to be a high 128. We shall see. Obviously, these times are, would be quite a bit far off from tier 1, which will be on Thursday at, I believe, the same time. So you'll have to come back for that. See, let's hop on board with which one's about to finish their lap here. Okay, he's on an out lap. He's finishing his lap. Top on board with Dr. B. Let's ride on board with him for this lap here. So he comes across the line deploying the battery up into 8th gear. You got to be careful about deploying battery in 8th gear, as it is a little bit less efficient. The car is starting to ramp down a little bit as you get above 270 kilometers an hour. A bit early on the turn in here, going through the first corner, engaging that traction control heavily as he goes up towards turn 4, opening the straight mode. The straight mode on these cars allowing people to run much higher downforce, locking the rears a little bit there, just having a bit of a slide. That is going to hurt his time pretty significantly going into the next part of the lap here. Sector 1 is a 29, I think it was a low 29, which is far off from Fate F4, who said a 28.961. So I'm Doctor already quite a bit off the pace here. Going down into turn 10, getting it hooked up relatively well, a little bit early on the power and the boost. You can hear the traction control engaging quite strongly there, but running down here into turn 11, you want to cut that corner a little bit harder than he did, carry a little bit more speed, but running now up the hill, he does have a significantly higher battery than a lot of the cars that we've seen thus far going into this final part of the lap, so maybe he can find some time here at the end. Going into the right-hander of turn 13, he comes out and starts deploying all the battery. Running down here into the final corners of turn 14 and 15, not utilizing all of the track width here on entry or exit. That is going to hurt his time, but with the run up to the line, he should have a lot more battery than before coming across the line, running a 130.670, a bit of a disappointing lap, I would say, for I'm Dr. B. I would imagine that he will hope to improve on the next runs that he has. See who else is about to start a lap. There's a Haas coming around the final complex of corners. There's that a Cadillac. See if we can't find who this guy is. It's Femi Scotch finishing another lap. Let's see where he can go. He was the first one to finish a lap previously. Does not improve 2/10 off from his previous time. So a bit of an unfortunate run for him. Let's see who else is starting a lap here. We got Pixel Knight on an out lap. Deploying as he comes across the line. A little bit late on the deployment, but should be okay. Let's see what he does running down here into turn 1. Going very deep, very, very deep, and running off almost off the track. So that lap going to be pretty much scrapped at this point. Yep, and he does abort the lap. So let's see if we can't get on board with Hobble K here, going in for his first lap, or not first lap, going out for his second lap here. He is only about a 10th and some change off of Fate F4 in the V-Carb, so let's see if he can't have an improvement here and maybe take away provisional pole position before we head into the final runs here. He will have to hurry up. There is only 8 minutes and 30 seconds left in qualifying, so a lot of the drivers who may not necessarily be out right now, perhaps on the point where they're starting to decide whether or not they're going to do 2 or 3 runs. But Cobble K here, going across the line, we're going to hop off board for this lap. Running down here into Sector 1, saving a little bit more battery than some of the people that we've seen previously. Getting turn 1 hooked up relatively well as he cuts the corner of turn 2 and goes around turn 3. Now here heading up towards turn 4, the straight line mode open. Allowing these cars to reach a much higher top end speed and allowing you to run much higher downforce setups than you previously would on the older cars. The low wing meta not being as dominant as it was on these old 2025 cars. So going down here into turn 8, you have to utilize all of the track width on exit, which he does do a very, very good job of here. So looking like a very promising lap so far. Let's see if he can get it hooked up into turn 10. This is a very critical part of the lap, as it determines your run all the way down into turn 11 as well. Saving a battery a bit early here, so maybe intending to use it all towards the end of the lap. He rounds turn 11 to head up the hill. Let's look at the sector time here as he crests over into turn 13. He is currently on a 107. So he had a couple tenths of improvement here. So if he can hold it together for the rest of the lap here, he is going to snatch away that provisional pole position. That Alpine of Golden Sniper is behind though, also on a lap. So we shall see if the time is comparable. Cobble K comes across the line. Well, he actually pits. He pits. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Maybe trying to hold things back as Henry Op goes fastest with a 128.845. Maybe I was wrong about whether or not that would be pole position would be in the high 28s. Maybe we're looking at a mid 28 pole position here. People can hook up the lap. The lap times here actually quite impressive, as I believe a comparable time in tier 1 would be mid to low 127. So very, very good laps here, all things considered. So let's see here. Edge does go across the line, our championship leader, to get a 129.201. So doing a good job. But Fate F4, crucially, our previous provisional pole position holder, coming up for a lap here. Hopefully he will have enough time to go back into the pit lane. It is quite a long outlap here, a minute and a half. So you would have a minute and a half, 3 minutes. That would only leave him with 2 minutes going into the pit lane. I do not believe that he will have another chance to get a lap in. So very critically for him, this lap is extremely important. Let's go ahead and, with it being so important, let's go ahead and hop on board and see what he can do. Saving a lot more battery than some other people that we've seen before. Also not lifting and coasting nearly as much, going down into turn 1. Hitting 100% battery well before the exit of turn 2, which is not exactly what you want. You've got a car in front, hopefully moving over to get out of the way and not impeding. However, as he goes into the corner, the car is still on the racing line, He goes the outside. That might be a bit naughty from, I believe that was that a Cadillac? Or was it a Haas? The Cadillac of flying DJ. So maybe impeding Fate of Force lap a little bit, but he is already up by 4/10 going into the corner here. He'll be maybe a little bit upset with the Cadillac's lack of desire to get out of the way. Opening up the straight mode, heading down into turn 11 here. Let's see what he can do. There is a yellow flag ahead that does reduce your deployment quite a bit, so hopefully that was cleared. Yep, it was cleared in time. Let's see where he's at in terms of improvement going into the final sector here. He's up 7/10 on his previous time, so on an absolute flyer here, Fate F4, and very importantly so, as this will likely be the only lap that he gets to set, him only getting 2 laps in here. So coming around the final corner, can he hold it together? Going up to the line, what can he do? He takes back provisional pole position with a 128.575. A very, very good lap from Fate F4, snatching back that provisional pole position. See if there's anybody else here on a lap. We got Femi Scotch here in the Haas on a 2/10 improvement. Going towards the final complex of corners here with the straight mode open. Running out of battery quite a bit early, so going to have a rather poor sector 3 time. He's going to run out of battery very early coming up here to the line, so that is going to hurt his time quite a bit. Yeah, 129.707, not improving on what will likely be his final run. So that is very unfortunate for Femi Scotch. Likely stuck in that P8 position or lower, just due to the fact that he's not going to have time to come back around and make another run at it. We've got some of the final runs here, starting with Cobble K coming out to start his outlap. Sorry guys, I'm having to respond to a text message. All right, let's get on board here with Cobble K going to start his final outlap, or going to start his final flying lap. Fate F4 likely not going to get another lap in unless I see him on an outlap very soon here, but looking at the track map, his car seems idle in the pit lane, so does not seem like he'll get a lap. Going into the last 2 minutes here of qualifying, It's going to be a bit of a shootout here. Anybody, it's really anybody's game here. Golden Sniper, Cobble K, Edge, Henry Op, and Feta 4 in contention. Feta 4 obviously not going to get another lap, but if his time stands, then obviously he will take pole position. So, riding on board with Cobble K, going into the first corner. Coming out, going up towards turn 4 here. We'll get a glimpse at maybe his improvements as he comes out of this corner, going down towards the S's of Bahrain of 5, 6, and 7. On a 410th improvement, so a massive improvement here from Cobble K, already on pace for a 129 flat, assuming no more improvements here. So on an absolute flyer of a first sector here as he runs up towards turn 9 and turn 10. Certainly Feta 4's pole position, provisional pole position, is in jeopardy here. Anybody could realistically take it away here, as it seems like the track or the drivers are just improving massively going into the final runs here in qualifying. Maybe Feta 4 regretting his decision to go out so late as Edge behind starts another flying lap. The Book Eli coming up into 4th place with a 129.395. Let's have a look. Cobble K up 8 tenths here. 8 tenths. He only needs about a 10.5 here to take away provisional pole position. Let's see if he can do it going here into the final corner. He does have a respectable amount of battery as well. So let's see what he can do. Running to the line here. Deploying the battery all the way down to 0%. Going up to the line. Let's see what kind of time he can do. A 128. Oh, a 128.990. Maybe using a little bit too much battery there early in the lap and struggling a bit towards the end. That's pretty unfortunate. Let's hop on board with Edge here. Going down into the middle part of the lap. Only up an improvement by a 10th though, so maybe just struggling a little bit on this final lap to improve as much as everybody else. Let's check in with Henry on a 2/10 improvement here, so going into the second sector, let's see if he can't improve. We'll hop back on board briefly with the Red Bull of Edge on his improvement to see if he can maybe snatch away a pole position here. Obviously Cobble K does not say he's out of it, but he might as well be with no battery to start the last lap here. So Edge running down to turn 14 also has a pretty respectable amount of battery, but I don't know maybe if necessarily these guys are harvesting enough into that final corner. It is costing them quite a bit on the run to the line. You can lose up to 2 to 3 tenths just from not having enough battery here. He does go second fastest with a 128.692, but not quite enough to snatch away pole position. Let's see what Henry Op can do going here to the line. Henry Op not improving, unfortunately, and so the only cars left who are setting laps here is Brian DeBruce coming to the line. Seems like he's not improving though. Yeah, not improving, just slightly. And Celsius here coming into the pit lane. So does not seem like Cobble K. Yeah, Cobble K not on another lap here coming into the pit lane. So as things stand, your pole position for this race will be Feta 4 with a fantastic lap in the second run, saving a set of soft tires, so doing a very good job of qualifying, only needing 2 runs to get pole position. Edge in the Red Bull, your championship leader, will round out the front grid. Henry Op in the Mercedes and Cobble K in the Red Bull, starting 3rd and 4th. Golden Sniper and the Book Eli, 5th and 6th. The Alpine of Ted 2630 and the Audi of Pixel Knight 26 down in 7th and 8th. ZDG Panda in the Ferrari will be your 9th on the grid, and Move Pipe Bomb will be rounding out your top 10 in the V Carb. Going down the rest of the grid, we have Beamy Scotch in the Haas, Skirata in the Cadillac, Brian DeBruce in the Ferrari, Wu Shiesty in the Mercedes, I'm Dr. B in the McLaren, Flyer DJ in the Cadillac, and Stelius in the Aston Martin. So the Aston Martin maybe starting in a bit of a realistic position. Hopefully we turned off realistic performance and things are set to equal, because that would be unfortunate. Only joking, of course. So now we'll head into the race. I believe there's going to be a bit of downtime in between now and when the race actually kicks off properly. So I am going to take this moment to go and get some water, as we're going to be in for a bit of a long one, 50% league race, probably take about 40 minutes. So I will be back in just a moment. I'm going to grab some water. Oh boy, guys, starting, of course, very early. That's quite unfortunate. All right, we'll hop on board here. Yeah, unfortunately, they started. I thought there was going to be a bit of a lull for these guys to change their setups, but I stepped away for a second to get some water, and these guys are already raring and ready to go. So strategy screen time not taking very long to take place, but as it stands, it seems the detail position change here. Golden Sniper getting up a position here, maybe going side by side with the Mercedes going into the final corner here. We'll hop on board with Edge starting from P2. It seems like the top two not changing very much in between qualifying and the race here. Going down into turn one, lots of position changes. People going side by side, maybe three wide into turn one. The two Alpines and the Ferrari getting their elbows out a little bit here early in the race as they head up now. Oh, okay, right, the telemetry is broken. Hopefully that can fix that. There we go. Going up into turn four. Hopefully these two Alpines settle down a little bit, as oh no, does not seem to be the case. The Ferrari of ZDG Panda getting past the Alpine of Golden Sniper as we head now down into turn 8. Let's if things are just going to stay a little bit calm, I might want to get a better view of this fight between the Alpine and the Ferrari. These three cars just absolutely going at it with each other as we head down into turn 10. It's only lap 2 of the race, guys. Oh, and the Alpine maybe getting bumped a little bit, moving down into 6th place, losing quite a bit of time here to the cars in front, almost 2 seconds in one corner. Was very difficult to see what happened there. Maybe just an incident of some kind, making quite a roadblock in the road, as now these guys are going to be dropped out of that 2-second window. So maybe that fight telling down a little bit as the Alpine does lose overtake here to the cars in front as well. Maybe he'll have it. We'll see here as they round the final corner going into the first part of the lap. Let's see if he still has that crucial overtake allotted to him. Out of battery though, so allowing the Ferrari to come through. He does keep the overtake, so crucially will be able to stay with the front runners here. But Edge, Fate, and Henry Op getting a little bit, fighting a little bit here. Fate F4, obviously being the race leader, will not have that overtake mode, so we'll have less battery to deploy and harvest over the course of the lap. And so very, very slowly, the Red Bull of Edge behind and Henry Op, if they decide to work together a little bit here, they can start to put him under pressure and eventually drain him of his battery. And then at that point, it might as well be a slam dunk overtake. So let's see if these guys start to think about settling down a little bit here, maybe start taking care of the tires and start thinking about whether or not they're going to, or kind of switch up their deployment strategies a little bit here. Edge, having saved up quite a bit of battery, is coming alongside of Fate F4. Fate F4 maybe turning his battery off. Yep, 86% battery. So maybe deciding, hey, you know what, I'll save my battery here and I'll yo-yo past him here on the next straight. So coming now into turn 13, Edge in the Red Bull is your new race leader. Going down the straight here, we'll see if Fate F4 decides to make a move on him, as behind you can see the Ferrari of ZGG Panda staying close behind, and the Alpine of Ted getting dropped this lap. So Edge going into lap 4 will be your race leader, saying the fastest lap of the race, immediately taken away by ZDG Panda and the Ferrari. So on the soft tire, let's see what sort of tires these guys are on. So as far as the top 3 are concerned, they're all in the medium tire, likely doing a medium hard or maybe a medium hard medium for this race. ZDG Panda on the softs, very, very likely could pull a one stop. It would be very tricky one stop, but a soft hard is possible. And the rest of the grid on mediums, except for Wu Shiesty down in 14th place. So get back on board here, or get the intervals pulled back up as we keep a close eye on this grouping of the top 4 drivers. You know, I would take my eyes off of them for just a moment to look at the battle that's going on between Feed Me Scotch, Wu Shiesty, and Pixel Knight. But I feel like if I look away for even a second, I'm going to miss a crucial overtake for the lead. And so we will stay on board for the time being with these front 4 until things settle down a little bit, which it does seem like things are starting to settle down a little bit. The gap's starting to widen a little bit. You know, 5/10 separating all of them, all of their deltas being relatively similar. Fate F4 closing it a little bit here. Let's check the battery levels here. 75% for Edge, 76% for Fate F4. So going down here into turn 1, not a big battery advantage for Fate F4. He will have a faster deployment rate, but as far as having more juice to attack with, it's not quite the case on this occasion. So he stays behind for now. Watching that gap from Fate F4 to Henry Op, though, very important for him to stay within that 1 second gap. Maybe allowing himself to get towed along by the front runners, as they have now dropped Ted by 1.3 seconds going into this lap. So we'll have to take a look at as a Cadillac has seemingly spun or been spun on track. That's Flyer DJ. That's a very, very unfortunate situation for him. Just losing out in some sort of incident that happened behind. Maybe through no fault of his own. Very unfortunate for him. Coming back up to the front here, Henry Op struggling quite a bit to maintain that gap. The front runners here having quite a bit more battery than he does. So there is a chance that they could get dropped here. Wu Shiesty picking up a 3-second time penalty 5 laps in. It's not exactly what you want to see this early on in the race, but you'll just have to be a little bit cleaner for the rest of the race here. But Henry Op, on the precipice of losing that overtake mode, has to deploy almost all of his battery here to stay within that 1 second window. That is going to hurt him quite a bit here going down the straight. ZDG Panda also not having as much battery, so these guys not going to have to worry about being overtaken necessarily, but they are going to have to worry about the fact that the front runners here do have more battery. Fate F4 inside the gearbox of Edge, still choosing to stay behind for now, maybe thinking about a move here. He's very, very close, only 1/10 back. He is deploying quite a bit of battery here. He turns it off early, so he is deciding to just do the tactic of putting Edge under pressure. But Edge, having 90% battery, actually has more battery then Fate F4. So Fate F4 not going to have the greatest chance of maybe making up the position here. Move a pipe bomb, getting a 3-second time penalty. Wu Shiesty coming into the pit lane. I wonder if that is for a wing change of some kind, or maybe the battling and maybe his tires have gone off after 6 laps. I wouldn't imagine that would be the case, but move a pipe bomb, maybe making a mistake, causing him to spin. As soon as I take my eyes off of the front runners, we have another lead change here. Fate F4 getting ahead of Edge in the Red Bull. Maybe Edge thinking about going side by side here up towards turn 13, but thinking better of it, as he does have a 10% battery advantage over his rival here in front. The squabbling here, though, allowing Henriot to stay within that 1 second window. And so now going into the final corner, Edge does have 100% battery, Fate F4 with only 80%. So now going down the straight, if Edge decides to, he can deploy quite a bit of battery here to try and get past. He is only 1/10 back, so he is going to turn the battery on. He's going to keep it on. We're going side by side down into turn 1. The V-Carb and Red Bull, the two sister teams, battling it out here at the front of the grid. Going side by side again through turn 2 here, but it seems like the V-Carb getting a bit of a better exit, so he'll stay ahead for now, going up towards turn 4. The Mercedes of Henriot having a bit of a look on the inside here, trying to maybe get his car, his Merc, his silver arrowed Merc in the mirrors of the Red Bull in front to try and tell Edge, hey, I'm still here. You can't just attack Fate F4 all you want. I will overtake you if you slow down too much. So going now towards turn 9 and turn 10, Edge just absolutely filling the mirrors of Fate F4 here, just putting a lot of pressure on him, seeing if maybe he can manage it. Going now down towards turn 11, still very, very close to each other. The top 3 here only separated by half a second. Very, very close between all of them. And the Ferrari behind just maybe managing his tires a little bit, maybe managing his battery, saving some fuel, perhaps. It does seem like he is under-fueled, so that does play to his advantage a little bit here, just allowing him to get towed along here as these soft compound tires start to die a little bit, start to cry a little bit, as they are no doubt overheating at this stage. We can actually find out for sure. His telemetry unfortunately is not public, so I cannot see his exact percentages, but his tires at 203 degrees, so running a little bit hot, I would say, for the soft tires here. As we have a lead change, Edge getting ahead of Fate F4 going into turn 2. They're going side by side now, going up towards turn 4. Things are getting very scrappy here. The Mercedes behind just waiting for his opportunity. They go side by side going into turn 4. Edge getting kind of washed out a bit wide here, but they're still side by side going into turn 7 here. Going down now towards turn 8. They're still a little bit side by side here. Edge has an inside line. He keeps the position for now, but with that compromised exit, does Fate F4 have the run on him? Maybe going towards turn 9 does not seem to be the case. So they will stay as they were. Going now down towards turn 11. See if anything happens. It does not seem to be the case. It seems these guys are comfortable staying as they were, despite all of the scrapping. It's only lap 8, gentlemen. This is quite a fierce battle for the lead here as these guys swap around back and forth every single lap, it seems like. So now heading down towards the final corner, let's do a battery check here. Fate F4 with 65%, Edge with a lower amount, and so now Fate F4 is going to get this overtake mode going down the straight here. He has dropped back ever so slightly, maybe lifting and coasting into that final corner, but he is going to have a ton of battery as compared to Edge. Edge going to the inside line, maybe trying to take that esports line on that inside curbing there. The track a little bit smoother over there, so allowing you to have a much higher top end speed, but Fate not getting a move done here. He's actually under pressure from the Mercedes behind. The Mercedes of Henriot very, very close to him. Let's see what the tire wear situation is. It does seem like Fate F4 does have a higher amount of tire wear. He has about a 6% higher tire wear as he goes for a move on Edge, going down now into turn 5 and turn 6. Golden Sniper picking up a 3-second time penalty. They're side by side once again. We've seen this one before. And Edge with that inside line does keep the position for now, but he's a bit closer going now down to these top 4 separated by inches going into turn 8. I mean, one mistake from any of these guys and you could you could go from first down to fourth in a single corner. Now going through turn 10, heading now down towards turn 11. Let's see if anyone decides to chance a move here. It does seem like they are going to behave on this occasion, still choosing to stay behind each other, and looking a little bit further back on the grid. Things have seemed to settle down quite a bit. The gap from fourth to fifth has increased pretty significantly. It's the 2-second gap at the moment. It's nothing astronomical, nothing that can't be whittled down over the course of a race, but it does seem like a 4-horse race at the moment. Obviously, a safety car or any sort of stoppage could throw things into a bit of a tizzy, as ZDG Panda relents and says, I've had enough. These soft tires are dead. I'm coming into the pit lane. It'll be interesting to see what tires he goes on as Fate F4 passes Edge just before the braking zone, going into turn 1. They're going up through turn 2 once again, side by side. Edge on the outside here, now losing out a little bit, just having to drive that further distance. Now going down to turn 4, not chancing a move up the inside, deciding to relent for the moment. Let's see what tire the Ferrari of ZDG came out on. The medium. So committing to that 2-stop strategy, ZDG maybe thinking that later on there will be a safety car, and so now instead of having the 4-horse race at the front, we've got the 3 musketeers of Fate F4, Edge, and Henry Op going now down towards turn 10. That gap to 4th place increasing with every single lap. We can compare the lap times here. Last lap, Fate F4 did a 1:33.715 down in 4th place. The book Eli with a 1:33.840, as we have a yellow flag for an Alpine, I believe, of Golden Sniper. Golden Sniper stopped for a moment. Another car stopped on track. I believe that is a Cadillac. Managed to right himself before any sort of stoppage takes place. So some of the drivers in the back starting to make mistakes here, and a big mistake could lead to a safety car, which would shake things up quite a bit. Obviously, our front runners here would likely pit in this situation, but Edge does have a bit of a run here on the V-carb, deciding maybe to save a little bit of battery going down here into turn 1, but he's much later on the brakes, so he is coming alongside as we go into turn 2. A bit of a brave move from the Red Bull here, maybe cutting the track a little bit, hopefully not getting a track limits there. Deploying the battery now down towards turn 4. They're still side by side. This battle has been absolutely extraordinary thus far. These drivers not giving each other an inch, not giving themselves a second to breathe, as Fate of 4 does retain first place for the moment. But going down towards turn 8, the Merc maybe having a bit of a look on Edge here. As I said, one mistake could drop these guys down a significant amount of positions, and a collision would be absolutely devastating for these guys, as they have broken that gap to the book Eli and the McLaren. They do want to try and not squabble as much as possible to maintain that gap. Obviously, 2 cars back there, the McLaren of Eli and the Red Bull of Cobble K, would certainly be delighted if they were to start battling now and drop back a little bit, drop back by a couple of seconds and let them into the front running fight. So then we would have a 5-horse race, and technically a net 6-horse race for the lead, with ZDG Panda behind on those medium tires. Let's see what type of lap time ZDG does this lap, so we can see how much he is undercutting the front runners at the moment as we head down towards turn 1. Fate F4 deploying quite a bit of battery, but Edge behind having a bit of a run here. The slipstream may be working out for him here. He does come alongside a bit of a lockup from Fate F4. Maybe it was a visual bug, but he does retain the position now going up towards turn 4. But a little bit of a switchback here from the Red Bull coming alongside as we head down towards turn 4. He does get ahead for the moment at the apex, but on the exit, Fate F4 having that shorter line, as we get an excellent view of their battling here, going side by side through turns 6 and 7. Yes, 6, 7. What a great set of corners and a great number. The Red Bull managing to get ahead of Fate F4 and retaining that overtake for the rest of the lap, so does retain that advantage. Let's have a look at ZDG Panda's last lap. He did it 1:32.747 last lap. The front runner is doing 1:34, so undercut significantly. If they were to pit at this point in time, they would come out behind ZDG Panda. So ZDG Panda having that net track position, so long as we don't have any sort of stoppages, managing to get past the McLaren of Dr. B. So importantly for ZDG Panda, for him to get past this traffic very quickly, and so he can utilize those fresh medium compound tires to undercut these front runners quite significantly. As I would imagine that these front runners are starting to think of pitting soon. I would not be surprised if we see one of the front runners here decide to pull the trigger this lap and come into the pit lane. Does it seem like the Red Bull is deciding to pull that trigger and come into the pit lane? The V-Carb and the Mercedes staying out, so this Red Bull going to have a bit of a one-lap undercut on the cars in front. Cobblecake coming in behind his teammate, hopefully not a double stack situation. Oh, just delayed just a little bit, there. Very unfortunate for him. But ZDG Panda will be delighted by this, as he just gets to jump all the way back up the order here. And we'll see the exact gap that he's undercut the leaders by. 19.7 is the gap. I believe a pit stop here is much higher than 19.5 seconds. So he has undercut himself into the front of the race. However, he is crucially, and I'm going to say crucially here because it is important, on a two-stop strategy. So the front runners here very clearly on a one-stop, so long as I would imagine that, yes, the leaders have come out. Oh, Edge pitting to mediums, another set of mediums, so he is committing to the two-stop. That could be a mistake. I think lap 13 is a little late for a two-stop, unless he intends to pit to softs for the last couple of laps of this race. So that could work out for him depending on the lap times that he puts in and if we have a safety car or not. But Feta 4 and Henry up here just running together, I would imagine that they are thinking about pulling the trigger here on going to hards. They will be undercut by ZDG, but of course they will re-inherit that position later, especially if they're doing a one-stop. So let's see if they decide to pull the trigger here. Henry out pulling the trigger and deciding to go into the pit lane. Feta 4 staying out. So we'll see what kind of lap times he can do. But let's see ZDG Panda, where he comes out in terms of Henry up in the pit lane. It'll be very important to see, as that will give us a bit of a hint as to whether or not he will come out, or whether or not Beta 4 will have any sort of chance of maintaining his race lead for the moment. He does come out ahead of Henry up by a significant margin. The McLaren and the Mercedes fighting on pit exit. The Mercedes managing to get ahead for the moment. So very critically here, the undercut working wonderfully for ZDG Panda right now, but he is under threat from Edge behind in the Red Bull. Edge having pit the lap after, or a little bit after ZDG Panda, so the undercut not quite working on him, unfortunately. Edge looking to inherit the net race lead here, going down towards turn 10. See if he decides to make a move now, going towards turn 11. Check at battery levels here. Edge does have a lower amount of battery, but with that overtake mode, he will be able to harvest more. So perhaps just biding his time a little bit here, trying to whittle down ZDG Panda and make sure that he doesn't have enough battery on the exit. Gets caught out a little bit, and ZDG Panda drops down to P3. Edge making a very unorthodox move, passing, going up into turn 12 and turn 13. That was a very fantastic move, as our race leader, Beta 4, comes into the pit lane. Let's see where he comes out. Should not be in any sort of contention with the front runner of Edge and ZDG Panda, as Edge sets the fastest lap of the race. You can see the V-Carb over here on the left side of the screen coming out of the pit lane, and they just ruined it with the camera angle, but that's okay. Coming out of the pit lane, and very much so off of where he would like to be. He's fighting now with the Mercedes of Henry up. Henry up going to have warmer tires here, so likely going to have an advantage going into this lap here. Let's see if Henry up can take advantage of his warmer tires and possibly get past the V-Carb in front. Going now down into turn 8, going up towards turn 9. DDG Panda has been dropped by Edge for the race lead, so we will stay on board with Fate and Henry up here. Let's see if we can't ride on board properly with Henry up here. Going down towards turn 11, get some onboard action with the Mercedes. He is closing a little bit, but lifting off, deciding to save a little bit here. It does not seem like he is down on fuel though, so he is going to be costing himself some time. ZDG Panda dropping back quite a bit from Edge, so Edge now your uncontested race leader. The pit stop strategy for him working fantastically, but very crucial. God damn it, keep saying that. But very critically, he will have to stop again. So these guys back here, as he does set the fastest lap, these guys back here of Fate and Henriot on the hard tires, they won't have to pit again, so long as there's no sort of safety car as I go down turns towards turn 1. Henriot chancing a move maybe here, but critically these guys will not have to stop again, and so they will sort of retain that advantage unless there is a safety car. That Edge will have to put in some fantastic laps here, will have to put in quite a bit of effort to build a pit stop gap, or build as much of a pit stop gap as he can, so that way in the closing stages of the race he does not have as much work to do. At the moment his lap times are about 2 seconds a lap faster than the cars behind. The Mercedes of Henriot doing a 133 last lap, Edge doing a 130.00 or 066. So right now as it stands, 2 seconds a lap faster is quite good. That could be enough for him to pull a bit of a gap here to allow himself to pit onto those, I would assume, soft compound tires to end the race out and have a go at coming back at these guys. The gap between them increasing now to 6 seconds from the lead. As we go down towards the final corner, Henriot putting himself in the mirrors of Fate F4 going into the final corner, trying to unsettle him a little bit. He did hit the recharge limit that lap, so he did a very, very good job of managing his battery. Let's see how Fate F4 is doing. He also did come close to hitting the recharge limit, so both of them doing a very, very good job of maintaining their battery, as Henriot does come alongside and does manage to get ahead before the braking zone of turn 1. A bit of a lockup from Fate F4 here. Josh is cooked with a penalty. What did he do? Oh, never mind. Yeah, thank you for those in. I was a bit confused. I was like, who is Josh? Who is this Josh guy? Is he in the race lead? I didn't realize. No, we're all good. Going down now towards turn 8. The gap between the leader and these two cars staying pretty consistent here. Last lap, Edge doing a 132.569. Fate F4 doing a 133.2. So still increasing the gap at the moment. Things having settled down a little bit here besides this 3rd and 4th place battle that is taking place. At this point, the driver is just looking to set in consistent laps. Don't make any mistakes. Save your tires, save fuel if you've underfueled. A good underfuel strategy here on the one stop is to go about 2 laps down on fuel, as if you are hitting that recharge limit every single lap with lift and coast, that is a comfortable fuel target to get to as we go into the final corner here. Beta 4 picking up the overtake mode now at the end of the lap, having been stuck with the regular battery deployment map. Now going down towards the first corner, thinking about maybe having a go at the Mercedes, but the Mercedes having a little bit less battery as well, so maybe a chance here for Fate F4 to get past. These two fighting for what will be likely the net race lead come the time for the cars in front of pit stop, as they are reeling in ZDG Panda ever so slightly with each passing lap. Last lap, the time for Edge being a 131.896, and the last lap for the Mercedes here in front being a 132.388. So still increasing the gap as they go side by side. This is only going to help Edge increase the gap more as these guys fight. 7-second gap, I do not believe will be enough for him to come back with the softs over the course of the rest of the race. But if these guys continue to squabble with each other as they are right now, that will allow ZDG to increase the gap even more, which will give him likely the impetus to then come back towards the end of the race here. But if these guys of Henry and Fate F4 think to themselves, think about a little bit of racecraft here. Hey, we're reeling in ZDG, who's going to have to pit again, and we're trying to keep the gap to Edge as low as possible, knowing that he's going to have to pit again. We should work together here. and not fight each other too much, as all of our squabbling will only lower our race time more and more. And crucially, focusing on that race time will be the deciding factor here in the race. Whether or not these guys get past each other is irrelevant, but the V-Carb of Feta 4 seemingly not caring very much to come past the Mercedes here, going down into turn 1. They did keep it relatively clean, no side-by-side, so maybe not too much time lost from that, as the gap now increases to 7.3 seconds. The time last lap for Edge only being 0.3 faster than the V-Carb of Feta 4, so those tires, those medium tires, starting to fall off a little bit. And so maybe now would be the ideal time to think about pitting. However, those softs will likely not last long enough for him to come back up, for Edge to come back up to these race leaders, as now Feta 4 gets within that 1 second gap of ZDG Panda in front. Not exactly too keen on that camera position that I was getting with Feta 4, so we're going to switch things around a little bit here. The gap now increasing to about 7.5, 7.8 seconds. We'll see exactly when they cross our finish straight what the time is exactly, but I would imagine that Edge is starting to thinking about pitting. We have an Audi off in the runoff of turn 10. He does manage to get going again. Seems like Pixel Knight had a bit of a moment going down into turn 10, but he seems to be okay for now. The Mercedes very close to Feta 4 there on the entrance of that corner. Feta 4 wanting to get past ZDG Panda here. ZDG being a bit of traffic at the moment, so he is deploying quite a bit of battery. Moving to the inside here as we go down towards turn 1. Does manage to get the move done. Pretty much a slam dunk there from Feta 4. Now able to pit that slow Ferrari against the Mercedes behind and possibly build a gap this lap, unless the Mercedes is feeling a bit audacious. Henriot choosing to stay behind for now. I think that is a bit of a mistake from him, as they're going to be quite slow through this next part of the lap. Feta 4 likely going to be able to build a bit of a gap here, even though right now the gap is quite small. Feta 4 does have a much higher battery level. We have a car stopped on track. Do they manage to get going again? Does seem like they do. I believe that was the Haas of Feed Me Scotch going quite slowly here. Maybe just having a bit of a moment, a little bit unsettled as the front runners head down towards turn 11. And as I said before, the gap's starting to build a little bit here. ZDG falling back a little bit. Feta 4 having much higher battery level here, going to be able to deploy quite a bit on this final straight. ZDG dropping down to 22%. That is going to hurt him quite a bit. The gap to the leader now 8 seconds. Let's see what happens here. If ZDG can retain that 1 second gap, that would be very helpful for Henriot. He is out of battery, so he's going to be an absolute sitting duck for Henriot behind with 37% battery. Not exactly having a lot of battery, but should have enough to come flying past the Ferrari here like a rocket ship, and he does so. So now able to possibly stick with Feta 4, but Feta 4 having 50% battery versus Henriot's 25% battery. So that is going to play a pretty key factor here going into the closing stages of this race. Edge in front also has not pit yet. That gap is going to start coming down, as last lap Fate did put down a 132.249 and Edge put down a 132 flat, so the delta between them only a 1/10 difference now. So if I was Edge in the Red Bull, I would be thinking about a pit stop this lap. I would not be surprised if we see that from him. ZDG Panda dropping back quite a bit here at this stage of the race. I believe he does not quite have the pace to keep up with these cars on these older tires, and so he's going to lose out. He might lose out quite a bit more, as well as everybody else behind him is on hard tires, so he is going to have some work to do going into the closing stages of this race. He is likely going to have to pit soon, and he will have to go onto a set of softs, which will give him the tools that he needs to likely claw his way back up quite a bit. But a top 5 finish is certainly in jeopardy for ZDG Panda here. He's going to need some monster laps coming towards the end of this race. Now, I would not be surprised if we see Edge come into the pits this lap. I would do that. That would be the smart thing to do. He does stay out on this occasion. I don't think that he can afford... Oh my god, what am I doing? I don't think that he can afford to stay out, though, as I think he pit to mediums. Henriot getting past Feta 4 for the net race lead. At this point, these guys maybe not caring too much about Edge behind, as he still hasn't pit yet. He's only going to have 6 laps to overcome what will likely be a 10-second gap or so, maybe a 12-second gap. And so he would need to be 2 seconds a lap faster than the cars in front, which could be the case with these older hards starting to fall off a little bit. Henry Hop's front left and rear left being at about 29% tire wear. So and then the V-Carb with Feta 4 slightly better, 27% and 25% on his front left and front or in front left and rear left. We're getting a little bit of rear locking there going into that corner, as we saw on the broadcast. So let's see if Henry Hop can retain the lead here. I do not believe that they're going to be under threat from the McLarens behind here, so it does seem like a bit of a 2-horse race at the moment, unless Edge decides to come in this lap. He has increased the gap a little bit more here on this lap, so maybe a little bit more pace in the tank from Edge, or perhaps this is his pit lap. I would believe so, but he does stay out even longer, maybe gambling on a safety car coming out and giving him a big advantage. That would be crucial. My favorite word, that would be crucial if that did happen. But if it doesn't happen at this stage of the race, he might as well be out of it. I can't see Edge coming back from this position. I don't think he's going to be able to take these tires all the way to the end. I can't imagine that that would be possible. Surely not. How many laps is he on as far as tire wear? He is on 10 lap old mediums. These mediums could maybe go to the end. They could. And now that I'm thinking about it, he could actually go to end on these mediums, but he has to pit again because he was on mediums to start the race. You have to use 2 separate dry compound tires in the race. Does Edge know that he has to do that? He needs to pit again. He has to switch to a softer hard tire before the end of the race. So he will have to pit again, lest he incur a significant penalty. So he will have to come in again. So certainly out of it at this stage, unless there's some sort of late race safety car, which if we get to about lap 26 with no safety car, it's going to be pretty much curtains for the Red Bull. He is still pulling a gap here. The gap now coming up to exactly 10 seconds. So he's still doing a good job of pulling away, but the problem is that he needs to come in and he needs to pit. He needs to put on another set of tires, but he doesn't. He stays out yet again. And I believe now at this point, the gap is going to start coming down. I mean, these hard tires are going to start being significantly faster than the mediums. I think he's just gotten this strategy completely wrong. Let's have a look at the lap times. Still slower. Feta 4 and the Mercedes of Henry Hop still slower than the car in front on the mediums. But again, the Red Bull is going to have to pit again. You have to use 2 separate compounds, or you will, get a significant penalty. I'm not sure what it is. I believe it's a 40-second penalty. Make it drop him all the way down to the doldrums of, like, not even maybe in the points if he doesn't come in. I'm Dr. B picking up a 3-second penalty, but he is, in P13, so it's not that race defining. Beta 4 coming up towards him now on the outside of the Merc here, maybe chancing a move there, but I don't think that would have been the wisest move. Wiser would be to come down the straight here and deploy some of the battery to get past, but you are going to leave yourself a little vulnerable going into the last part of the lap. Maybe just trying to get Henry Hop offline a little bit, maybe put him in a bit of a tricky situation, which does end up working out going into this final part of the lap. Let's see the battery situation. Feta 4 equal on battery with Henry Hop, but Henry Hop will have the overtake mode on this next lap here. So let's see what happens between them. Very, very clean racing from them so far. Haven't had any sort of incidents to speak of as Edge finally comes into the pits. I think that's a huge mistake. Waiting far too long to come into the pit lane. I think he's going to be in no man's land as far as position is concerned. But up here at the front, we've got the Mercedes putting himself in the mirrors of V-Carb. And as I say, the cleanliness, they come together a little bit. And Edge in the pit lane, we do have a car stopped on track, stopped for a significant amount of time. Is that going to bring out some sort of stoppage maybe? No, not quite. That would have been absolutely disastrous for the Red Bull, coming in right as the safety car would have been coming out, as our front runners continue to battle with each other now. Maybe bringing in Eli, who's been sitting back very patiently, but just running his own race pretty much for the entirety of it, into contention here on his older hard tires. The gap now 1.8 seconds, so we could be looking at a 3-car race for the lead in the closing stages of this race. Flyer DJ picking up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Edge, let's see how far he is back from the leader. He's only 10 seconds back from the leader, so he does need to have some absolutely monster laps, but you can just see that time between him and Tet coming down significantly. Edge just absolutely closing the gap rapidly. Those soft compound tires doing a fantastic job for him here, so his gamble, we'll see if that ends up paying off, but I would like to keep my eyes on the front here between the two leaders, as this is likely your first and second place finishers here. Going on to the start finish rate, Henry out of battery, Fade F4 with 25% more battery, so he's going to retain the position for now, and he's going to retain a pretty significant advantage now going into the last 4 laps of this race, as he will have significantly more battery going on this lap. So for now, Henry does seem to be putting himself in the mirrors a little bit. I would not say that is perhaps the wisest decision, as Fade F4 gets a little bit snappy on the exit there, having to save the car a little bit, but still having a significant battery advantage, still a 14% battery advantage, which unlike last year's game, 14% is not a significant margin. However, in terms of giving Fate F4 some flexibility to defend from the Mercedes of Henry out behind, that 14% could be very important to retaining that first place position as we go towards the end of the race here. Fate F4 deciding to not deploy too much battery, maybe getting a better exit out of that last turn there that allowed him to just retain that position. It does allow him to save significantly more battery. Now he has a 30% battery advantage, which is not anything to scoff at, ladies and gentlemen. You need about 40% to get up to 8th gear out of a corner, and so very critically going on to the start finish straight here, if he has more battery, which he does, if he doesn't lose the position, he is going to be able to deploy a significant amount more. The Mercedes there getting very, very early on the battery deployment, that's just going to cause the wheels to spin. That's going to cost you time going down the straight here. He's deploying everything that he's got, and he is closing. He's closing in 1/10, only 1/10 separating them. Fade F4 going defensive on the inside, but again, Fade F4 having a 40% battery advantage here. Henry getting a little bit of a better exit, deploying all of the battery down here into turn 4. He will have the inside line going into this corner, but Fade F4 is able to hang it around the outside, and it does seem like he's able to keep the position, and even more so, he's able to keep his battery topped up, and he's going to continue to retain this battery advantage. Let's check in with Edge, only 6 seconds behind the race lead here, so Edge on track for possibly a podium if he can keep making up the time here. His last lap being a 1:31, the leaders on 1:33s, so if things stay as they are, Edge will catch up to the leaders by the last lap, so we could have a massive shootout between the soft compound tire of Edge in the Red Bull and the two hards up here, Fade F4 and Henry Could be very interesting to see. Let's see if Edge can pull off this absolutely wacky and unorthodox strategy and make it work. I would be very impressed if a medium soft was a optimal strategy, or at least a strategy that would put him in contention. In the meantime, though, Henry filling the mirrors of Fade F4 going into the final corner. Fade F4 with a significant battery advantage. The Mercedes once again getting a bit early on the battery deployment out of the corner, compromising his exit and hurting his tire wear on his rears at 50% at the moment. Fade F4 defending the inside line here with 45%, so having a 5% tire advantage. A little bit of contact, but nothing I would say that is unsportsmanlike or extracurricular in nature as they run up towards turn 4. Both of them burning battery, both of them not wanting to give way as we head up towards turn 4. Fade F4 with that inside line. He does hold on to the position for now, but I believe going down towards turn 5, 6, and 7, he is going to retain the lead. They're still side by side going towards turn 7. Fade F4 is going to have a long way to go, but he retains the inside going into turn 8. Run up the hill towards turn 9. They're still side by side Henriop still trying to chance a move here. They go side by side down towards turn 10. Who's going to be able to keep the position? The Mercedes getting forced just a little bit wide. Nothing ridiculous, nothing off track. But these guys absolutely starting to duke it out, which is for sure going to bring the McLaren of that book, Eli, and Edge into contention here, as the Mercedes managed to keep the position, but they start going up towards the hill, going past a little bit of lap traffic here. A car going off the track to yield the position, but bringing out yellow flags, which will limit their deployment. They are separated by not but inches here, going down towards the final corner. Beta 4 probably choosing to stay back, maybe playing a little bit of overtake games to give himself that advantage going on to this next lap. But the more they back off, the more they slow down, the more that they're going to bring Edge into the fight on this final lap. Edge going to get past Eli to take that final podium position, very likely on this lap here. So let's see if these guys continue to squabble with each other. Edge actually not gaining the position, very surprising, but going down into turn 1, Feta 4 does keep the race lead, or he does actually gain the race lead off of Henry. Going down towards turn 4, they're side by side once again. Who's going to be last to break, or I guess first to lift? Feta 4 does keep the position for now, but Edge is now behind, only 6/10 back. He's absolutely loving this battling, as this has brought him into contention on the most critical lap of the race, the final lap. He's going to have a huge advantage on the Mercedes and the the V-Carb in front. Let's see if he can take advantage. Eli certainly waiting to maybe take advantage of any mistakes that these guys might make, which is certainly possible. As we go down into turn 10, some contact between the Mercedes and the V-Carb, which is going to give the impetus to the Red Bull of Edge behind. He may have a bit of a run on the hard tire runner of Henriop going down towards turn 11. They only have so many more corners to make a move here. We're going to start seeing some aggressive, maybe desperate moves. Battery level, it does seem like Henriop is going to be at a big disadvantage here. Feta 4 looking like your favorite to win the race with this amount of battery, going down towards the final corner, turning on the battery. The Red Bull still sitting in the wheel tracks of the Mercedes, thinking about making a move. Going down to the final corner, the Red Bull getting ahead of the Mercedes, but maybe forcing him off. But as you cross the line to finish out the race, your race winner is going to be the V-Carb of Feta 4. Second place with a very unorthodox strategy will go to the Red Bull of Edge, and Henriop in the Mercedes just losing out there on the final lap. He will round out your top 3. Going down the rest of the grid, Eli with a very, very well-managed race to finish in that position. Let's see, can we see position change? Does make up 2 positions. Cobble K in the Red Bull, bit of a disappointing race for him, losing 1 position in the end, but still getting a nice points finish for the team. Ted 2630 making up a position. Brian DeBruce up 6 places, very good race from him. His Ferrari teammate of ZDG Panda losing out quite a bit on terms of race pace, but still getting a net 1 position increase, finishes P8. Femi Scotch, after starting in P11, does make his way up to P9. The Cadillac of Skirata in P10. Those guys not separated by much, so maybe some last lap battling going on there. Golden Sniper down in 11th, just losing out. I believe he had some sort of incident at the beginning of the race, which did cost him. Pixel Knight dropping 4 places. I'm Dr. B making up 2. Move a pipe bomb in 14th in the V-Carb. Not exactly what you want to see if I'm Feta 4. You know, maybe saying, hey, where the hell's my teammate at? You know, we got the Red Bulls and the Ferraris and whatnot up here in the top 10. And my teammate is stuck down in P14 in no man's land. So maybe some drama there between them for not having the greatest race. Your race winner will be Feta 4. Fastest lap by Edge. No surprises there. Eli, driver of the day, most overtakes. I'm Dr. B, and cleanest driver of Edge. So let's have a look at the race director real quick. Just make sure that all of the warnings and things of that nature get copied here, so that way if there's anything that anybody needs to capture, they can come back and take a look. We'll look at the pit stops here, and we'll go back to our overview here. So the Mercedes of Henriop with no teammate to be seen. Yeah, his teammate also down. Wushaisty down in P15. So the V-Carbs and the Mercedes losing out quite a bit in terms of teammate performance. The Red Bulls ultimately getting the best team performance here this weekend. A P2 and a P5 will be good for them. The Ferraris having a decent result with a P7 and P8. Certainly not what they would have liked to see after their, well, not what they would like to see, considering that I would imagine they want to contend for the title, but solid result nonetheless, not taking them out of it for sure. And the Aston Martin of Celius and the Cadillacs just having a bit of a disappointing weekend. Haas, only one car on the grid, so another maybe disappointing result from him. Alpine, one car in the points, which is good. And the McLaren getting a decent result with one car in the points. So overall, I do believe that the Red Bulls are going to have a better race result, which does mean that they will retain their constructors lead. I do believe that Mercedes will end up jumping the McLaren with this race result. And then as far as the drivers championship is concerned, Fate F4 will get that 7-point increase. It's hard to say. I'm not super great with quick math here, but Edge should be getting 15 points, which will put him at 40. Henry. Wait. Henry. I don't. Maybe I'm losing my mind a little bit here. Yeah, the Mercedes of Henry will gain, what is that? He finished in third, so 15, so he'll be at 33. And Fate F4 getting the race win will gain 25. Edge will gain 18, actually, so he will be... Edge will have a 3-point swing in the championship race here after this second round in Bahrain. So it was a great race. Didn't get to focus too much on the midfield, unfortunately, just due to the fact that the top runners were just absolutely going at it the entire race. It was a very fantastic race from them. They kept it relatively clean. There were some bumps and some wheel banging. Nothing that I would say was extracurricular, but certainly I'm not a steward. I don't get to make those calls. So we shall see what happens afterwards. Let's have a look at the calendar going forward. I would like to see what the next race is. Our next race will be in Belgium, so that will be an interesting race. Another difficult track to manage the battery at, and another track very difficult to manage fuel at. So our drivers may end up, getting a little bit too confident on the fuel saving. You do have to be careful around Spa. If you underfuel by too much, you will lose out. After that, we do have Coda, which will be a sprint weekend, which will always be a good race. I for one love Coda. It's one of my favorite tracks, and especially in a sprint format, that'll be good to see. So congratulations to your top three. Very fantastic race from them, especially for Edge pulling off that strategy. Very, very well surprised me personally. I did not think that he was going to pull it off. But if you did make it to the end, I do appreciate you guys sticking it out for the whole time. This was my first time doing commentary for IRL. I hope I did a good job, other than the fact that I went to go get water and the race started without me. That was a bit of a miscalculation on my part. I thought that maybe there would be like a 3 to 5 minute time period in between when we got to the race strategy screen and when the race would start, so that won't happen again. But again, if you did stay all the way, I do appreciate all of you, and I will be back next week for round 3 at Belgium.